Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Together we're the Office Blokes.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. Head to our Just Stop Oil protesters getting whacked, was it?
Something like that.
Something like that video. Comment JFO, the letters JFO, or you could comment what you think that means. Make sure you subscribed and you can win that.
It's probably not a good idea to put what it means.
Yeah, maybe
It's better than the first one.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Anyway, yeah, if you want to get yourself a nice t-shirt, there you go. That's how you do it. Right then, the SR-71 Blackbird, the world's fastest plane ever built.
Is it passenger?
Yeah.
I think it's military.
Military.
I'm sure I remember this. Was it built in like the 70s or something like that?
I'm not sure.
70s or 80s?
Looks a bit, what's it for
Could be
70s,
wrong,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's US Military News, I think, is the channel. So we've reacted to quite a few.
Yeah. Just rings a bell, the Blackbird and the look of it. But
It was used 420 Blackbirds, mate.
is that
They were
what
baked in a
I'm
pie.
thinking of? Yeah.
Let's check it out. The SR-71 Blackbird, the world's fastest plane ever built. Let's do it.
SR-71 Blackbird, America's old super spy plane, is still the world's fastest jet. The sleek and sinister SR-71 Blackbird looks like it belongs in a science fiction movie. Though in fact the jet black spy plane proved far more successful at outrunning enemy missiles than any of the spaceships depicted in Star Wars. Though retired in the 1990s in favor of spy satellites and recon drones, it doesn't look like any modern designs are likely to challenge the Blackbird's record as the fastest manned aircraft ever. Stealthy speedster. As Cold War tensions heightened during the 1950s, the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, began flying the U-2 spy plane to keep tabs on the Soviet Union's fast-expanding nuclear weapons capabilities. Ungainly and relatively slow-moving, the U-2 relied upon its ability to fly at extremely high altitudes to avoid enemy fighters and early surface-to-air missiles. The intelligence provided by U-2s in 1962 uncovered the Soviet nuclear missiles deployed to Cuba, leading to the dramatic events of the Cuban Missile Crisis. But the U-2s also provoked diplomatic incidents because they simply couldn't fly high enough to avoid Russian SA-2 surface-to-air missiles. A U-2 was shot down in 1960, and its pilot Gary Powers captured, triggering an embarrassing diplomatic row. Another U-2 was shot down during the Cuban Missile Crisis, killing the pilot and escalating tensions between Moscow and Washington at a critical moment. 5 Taiwanese U-2s were shot down over China. American engineers realized altitude was no longer an adequate defense, and in 1957 began working on a plane for the CIA that they hoped Soviet radar would be unable to detect, and that could outrun any missiles fired at it. The Lockheed Skunk Works factory ultimately developed the A-12, codenamed Archangel. The prototype was first tested in Area 51 in 1962, and in the end, 15 A-12s were produced. CIA Lockheed A-12s flew a total of 29 spy missions over North Korea and Vietnam through 1968 in Operation Black Shield, losing 6 aircraft to accidents. Intelligence gathered by A-12 helped the CIA to map out North Vietnamese air defenses and locate the USS Pueblo after it was hijacked by North Korea. The Air Force developed prototypes of an interceptor version, the YF-12, and later considered a high-speed bomber, the B-71, coming numerically after the XB-70 Valkyrie bomber that never entered production. There was even a bizarre M21 drone carrier that launched a D-21 spy drone off its back. However, none of these spin-offs entered service, and the A-12 was retired in favor of an Air Force-operated variant, the SR-71. The Blackbird could sustain speeds above Mach 3, with a so far unbroken manned flight record of Mach 3.3 or 3.5. 3.3 is confirmed, while Mach 3.5 is claimed by pilot Brian Scholl to have been achieved while outrunning a missile over Libya in 1986. That speed is actually even more impressive than it seems, because while later Soviet MiG-25 and MiG-31 fighters could attain Mach 3, they could only do so for brief periods on afterburners. the aerial equivalent of an energy-burning sprint. The SR-71 could sustain Mach 3 flight for 90 minutes, at which points it required in-flight refueling. A Blackbird once set the record for...
So what's that equivalent to?
I have no idea.
Mach 3.5.
I always thought Mark 1 was something like 800-900 miles an hour.
Mark 1 or Mach 1?
Mach 1. From like 800 to 1,000 miles an hour.
Mach, is it M-A-C-H?
Yeah. Yeah, M-A-C-H.
I typed in Mach 1 just to see what it was, and there's a Ford Mustang.
Yeah.
Um,
The Mach-E, innit?
1,234 kilometres is Mach 1. Also, it's the speed of sound.
Right.
Yeah.
5,000 kilometres per hour. Oh, no, that's 4, sorry. 3.5.
In Top Gun, doesn't he go to like Mach 9?
Does
4,300 kilometres per hour, Mach 3.5.
Not bad.
Wow.
That's insane, isn't it?
That is crazy, yeah. And they could do that for like 90 minutes as well.
Imagine the concentration on the pilot. That'd be one of...
Wow.
Was it on Top Gear when James May did the Bugatti up to 350 miles an hour?
I don't know.
And he said when he slowed it down to about 90, he almost wanted to just get out because he thought it stopped.
Stops, yeah. Going that slow.
Yeah, and it's just like... But no, you're still going 90
Well, you do
miles
that.
an
You do
hour.
that when you come off the motorway, don't you? If you're gunning it on the motorway and all of a sudden you come to a 30 mile an hour zone where there's a speed camera. M62 is a prime example.
Yeah, it's like you're going backwards, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's like rolling.
Yeah.
Well, these pilots, it'd probably take them days to calm down to normal
Well, I'd
speed,
say
wouldn't
about
it?
3 hours to get to Australia from here or something like that. Mad. Shift.
for flying from New York to London in 1 hour and 54 minutes. In effect, by the time it took a SAM missile system to lock onto an SR-71 traveling at Mach 3 and launch a
Speed
missile,
of them, though.
the Blackbird was already moving beyond the effective range of the missile. But Lockheed wasn't just counting on speed to evade enemy missiles. The Blackbird was the first operational airplane intentionally designed with a reduced radar cross-section to minimize the chance of detection. The Blackbird's chines, the knife-like tapered edges of the fuselage, were even coated with early radar-absorbent iron ferrite paint to help lower radar detection ranges. The chines were also found to provide additional lift and greater aerodynamic stability. However, the Blackbird wasn't a stealth plane by modern standards. It had a cross-section of 10 square meters, which Soviet radar technology soon proved capable of detecting anyway. Adding to the problem was the enormous heat exhaust plumes the SR-71's engines generated, which disrupted the air particles behind it in a manner visible to radar. Fortunately, the Blackbird also mounted a radar jammer and other electronic countermeasures for confusing enemy missiles. To cap it all off, it was capable of sustained flight at 85,000 feet, another unbroken record, and employed an astro-inertial navigation system that used the stars overhead to calculate the plane's position.
It's just a crazy
5,000
looking
feet,
thing, isn't it?
wow.
These are the UFOs they've been seeing
Exactly, yeah.
when they're on test flights, isn't it?
I think that's probably what a lot of it is, really, you know, because new technology going forward is all the time with developing new stuff, aren't they? So, you know.
I know Schultz on his podcast this week said that he thinks they're essentially Chinese unmanned drones, all of these UFOs that are being sighted. And the other guys on the podcast went, yeah, sure, how do you know that? And he just went, someone told me, but we need to bleep their name. And then he actually said, and they bleeped someone's name, and then everyone went, oh, right, okay. And then just took his word for it.
Yeah, UFOs has been going on for decades, wasn't it? Since like 50s and 60s.
So the
when it
Chinese
started
guy
going
launched
into-
it, UFO.
Exactly, yeah.
But the US government are talking about them now, aren't they? They're like actively talking about UFOs and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah,
acknowledging their existence.
what a great cover story for, you know, trying new technology and stuff like that as well, though.
Yeah.
Well, if the other one was tested at Area 51, then
That's where all the
everyone's-
UFOs are
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, precisely.
An impressive record. The first operational SR-71 unit was activated in 1968, based at Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. The locals nicknamed the recon birds Habu, pit vipers, a nickname which stuck among Blackbird pilots. They went on to fly numerous reconnaissance missions over Vietnam, and while the plane performed well, it seems those who would want to take the plane down as the ultimate trophy were catching up. American pilots soon discovered that the Blackbird's reduced radar cross-section wasn't an effective defense by itself. Russian-made radars were powerful enough to track the Habu and launch missiles. However, they learned the SR-71 speed did not work as a defense. Around 800 missiles were fired at Blackbirds over Vietnam alone, but not a single one was lost to enemy fire, although one CIA A-12 did take a piece of shrapnel from an SA-2 missile that exploded 100 meters away. Blackbirds went on to fly over 3,551 reconnaissance missions over the next 30 years, flying over the Middle East, North Africa, Europe, and Asia. 11 SR-71s were lost in accidents, though all but one pilot survived. Not one was lost to hostile fire. Blackbird pilot Colonel James Shelton Jr. recounted how his plane flew an epic 11.5-hour mission to photograph Israeli army positions near the end of the Yom Kippur War. Along the way, he overflew Egyptian airspace and was tracked by multiple radar sites and interceptors, but none of them could keep up. The photos he took later established that Israeli troops were further in Egyptian territory than they had admitted, leading the U.S. to successfully pressure Israel into withdrawing its forces. Blackbirds also flew recon missions off the Russian coast, though not over Russia itself, evading all of the Mach 3 MiG-25 fighters sent after them. Soviet defector Viktor Belenko wrote in his biography, MiG Pilot, "They taunted and toyed with the MiG-25 sent up to intercept them, scooting up to altitudes the Soviet planes could not reach, and circling leisurely above them or dashing off at speeds the Russians could not match."
It's about right.
A different breed, these pilots, aren't they?
Yeah, just a bit.
They push everything right to the limit, don't they?
Yeah, that's
See
part of
these,
the job.
see these fighter jets coming towards you, and you're just like, what's this?
Yeah.
Let's just taunt them for a bit.
It's
forget their
part of it, though,
missiles.
isn't it? It is to say that listen, we're superior
Yeah.
to you, so
Yeah,
it's
it's a pissy match,
part of
isn't
the
it?
job. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I guess these were retired in favour of this sort of stealth technologies. The what's the stealth bomber called?
Stealth bomber, I think.
That's a B something, isn't it? Like a B.
B-52.
I don't think B-52
They
is
lived
in
on
the
the
Second
shack.
World War, wasn't it? I can't remember what it's called, but I presume this became obsolete because people could just see it and probably
I
shoot
guess
it
so.
out the
Yeah,
sky.
yeah.
It's a crazy looking thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks great.
Yet the Blackbird had shortcomings. It was expensive to operate, costing more than $100,000 per hour flown, according to one estimate. Furthermore, an SR-71 required an average of a week of maintenance between each mission because the high-speed flights often caused bits and pieces of the airplane to loosen or come off. More importantly, spy satellites and drones could handle the strategic missions that the SR-71 was supposed to perform. And the Blackbird, which relied on 1960s technology, had no data link to transmit its intelligence data back to base, so it was not considered ideal for providing data in a time-sensitive manner. The SR-71 was first retired in 1989, before 3 airframes were brought back into service in 1994. However, the operating costs of the small fleet were extremely high. Despite attempts by politicians like Senator John Glenn to save the program, the Air Force wanted to redirect funding to other projects. The SR-71 was finally withdrawn from service in 1998. NASA's 2 Blackbirds were retired the following year. For years, there were rumors of an even faster spy plane, the Aurora, but its existence seems unlikely at this point. Rather, the Pentagon relies on drones and satellites if it needs to cast an eye on a well-defended location. Why risk lives and diplomatic incidents using manned aircraft? The still classified RQ-180 Global Hawk stealth drone currently in development is believed to be the effective successor of the Blackbird.
Looks like a stingray.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's
amazing.
Drone they showed before, it looked like a whale as well. Like there's a lot of
It did,
animal
yeah,
looking
yeah,
things,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
there?
A lot of comparisons.
But that Aurora one that they had before is a. You can see why people think that's
A UFO.
A UFO. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you saw that flying around.
I wonder what the handling capabilities are of something like this. I know he said this is still classified, but people know about it, but I wonder what it can do. You know, can it just turn like that and go even faster and even higher? And
Probably.
You'd think
Advancement. It's always advancing, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. Every aspect of sort of like design of an aircraft, they'd be probably making it even better, won't they? So you'd think it'd be better.
What
in
job
every
that is,
department.
right? Can you make me a plane that looks like a stingray?
Yeah, all right then.
What about gathering intel over places where there is no threat from surface-to-air missiles? Then the Air Force can call upon the venerable 1950s-era U-2 which in heavily upgraded form is now flying photo reconnaissance missions over Iraq, having outlasted its successor by 2 decades and counting. Nonetheless, it looks like the Blackbird will remain the queen of speed for some time to come.
It's cool, that.
Yeah.
It's kind of Concorde-esque at the front as well, isn't it?
It's very much so. Yeah.
They are working on a plane similar to that, aren't they? Something that's a passenger plane that can travel at the speed of sound.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it's like the new Concorde, isn't it? They're calling it. I've seen that.
Well, it's KLM that's doing it, or someone, I think I saw it in KLM colours for some reason, like a drawn-up version of it.
Like a proper, what sort of passenger numbers are you talking of? Like proper...
I don't work for the airport, mate.
Well, I thought you had an idea.
Can I get a window seat?
Oh, yeah.
Probably about 100.
Yeah,
what was Concorde? Concorde was about 100, wasn't it?
About 181, I think, Concorde.
Can't remember.
Like that, but,
Gaynor's mum's been on Concorde.
Oh, really?
When she came to see the military in New York, she came to say she flew on Concorde.
Did she? Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a flaw with the Concorde as such when it got retired. I just think there was that the Paris one that crashed,
France one, yeah.
But there was debris on the runway.
Yeah.
And that was to do with I want to say like a flight from Dallas that took off before it or something.
Correct.
It was something like that,
something fell off and then something got pinged up by a tyre and hit an engine.
Yeah.
So
I think
might have been looking for a reason to retire it.
I think after that, they reinforced the fuel cells, didn't they? Which was below the wings, I think, which is what it punctured, from what I remember.
Yeah, it was.
But I just don't think it's viable in the end because of the cost of it and because how cheap and how more modern other planes are now, cost efficient, fuel efficient. I think it was just too expensive to buy seats. I don't think anyone was that asked about a few extra hours in the end.
No,
it's just
what was the price difference like?
It was quite. I can't remember what they paid for when they came.
It wasn't cheap for. I don't think it's cheap, was it?
Because again, his dad was supposed to come on it as well, and he fell ill just before. So he came. A brother came. So he blagged his way on it.
Did he?
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow,
typical of him, right? Yeah, I know. So he blagged his way on it. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He said it's tiny when you go on though. It's like pretty cramped.
Yeah, by all accounts, because they had one. I think still got it at Manchester Airport.
They do.
On show there. It's looks amazing still, but
would it be more than double? 747, sorry, or something like that.
I'm guessing, but I think so.
Yeah, I'm guessing if you can get, I don't know, probably double business class. I'm thinking.
Oh, really?
It's probably the double cost of the business class ticket.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
So, and what did it do? 3 hours, 4 hours?
Yeah, it's probably about, I think it was 3 or 4. Yeah, I think you're right.
It's about half the time, so.
Yeah, so three and a half.
I guess it
yeah.
I'll get a cheaper ticket and go on the big tube full of peasants.
Yeah.
I think the upkeep as well, servicing and maintenance, I think it's just spiralled through the roof, especially, like I said, with a new set of planes coming out.
How many was there? About 7 of them?
I think there was in the end, wasn't there? Yeah, something like that.
Not many, was there?
No, not many at all.
But that's a cool thing. Though,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's just 2 massive engines with a sword in the middle.
Yeah, when you look at military might and stuff like that, I mean, you look at some of the stuff they've got and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm on this side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you look at some of the gear, don't you think? Yeah.
It's a race, though, isn't it? I bet the Chinese have got the same. I bet the Russians have got the same. Although the Russian stuff won't work, will it?
No.
I'm not quite sure.
Spare tyres from Iraq.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if the engineers that came up with the plane would be quite happy with the description of a sword with 2 engines on the side. By the way, it took about 10 years to develop and billions of pounds, billions of dollars.
This plane looks like a massive knob.
Cheers.
Nice.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget, like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers. Guys.